Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Catherine and I talk about various topics. Today I'm going to tell you about my experience with the civil war in Kenya. Or should I say mini civil war because it didn't take more than 3 days, or was it even more less than one day? Yeah, it was like 24 hours or something of the sort. So let me just call it mini civil war. And oh, by the way, today I'm wearing t-shirt from Mexico. How would you know that I was in Qatar during the World Cup? And I was given this t-shirt by the Mexican team itself, although they did not win. Anyway, they left very early. But back to the topic. So this happened on a Sunday. I was quite young, but then it was still a long time ago. So now you know how old I am. Probably thereabout. So for those of you who think that if you are in a war-torn country, you get used to it, you get used to the bullet shots, you get used to the bomb blasts. No, every gunshot, every every bomb blast sound is like a new experience, is like you've never heard it before. It's like the first time. It causes the same adrenaline that you will have for the first time you hear it all the time. So you can imagine. You can imagine. We were even wishing we were dead. It was a year after one of my kid bros had died in a road accident, and you can imagine we were wishing we were him, not experiencing this as young as we were. So you can imagine the older people. So, as I was saying, it was on a Sunday. One of my brothers, one of my elder brothers, who likes going early mass, had already left because he liked, I think he was an altar boy, so he was going to serve in one of the churches in town. So he had left at around 6 a.m. in the morning. Of course, a.m. is in the morning. So he had already left. And then within a few minutes, the guy was back. You know, that time before he came back, I kept seeing my dad going outside and he was trying to listen to something, but I thought maybe he was watching the birds in the compound. But he kept on walking outside and standing outside. He kept on looking up. I thought probably he's watching the birds. And then when my brother came and said there's shotguns in town and people are being killed, oh, that's when my dad said, that's what I thought. I was hearing shotguns. What's happening? Immediately, they switched on the telly. You know, that time there was only one station in Kenya called the Voice of Kenya, VOK. At least we need to know what's going outside. The moment he said that the gunshot outside is when now we really had the intensity of the sounds. The sounds became more intense. We were like 20 kilometers far from town, but it was like in the backyard. You will hear the gunshots in the backyard. That's how it felt. And so we all came out to listen because we had switched on the telly, but nothing. There was blank screen. That time we wouldn't switch on like to another station because there was just one station. So this was a blank screen, which is very rare. There's supposed to be something happening. So when we ran outside, we heard more gunshots, and it was just like next door, 20 kilometers away, but it was just sounded like it's next door. We all ran into the house, all the kids with my mom. We all ran and we were on our knees. I get on my knees. Whatever that song is was real. This was automatic. Instinct sends you to your knees. And the prayers were real, man. That time there is no dilly-dallying about the prayers. The prayers were intense, you know. God help us. And then when my mom said, God help us, I knew we are dead. We are dead, man. But anyway, I'm still alive up to now. But I think our prayers must have worked anyway because they were real. I'm sure so many people are now praying for real until God had the prayers. It was this guy, one military guy, who was trying to cause a coup d'etat. He was trying to overthrow the government. His name is Ezekiel Ochuka. I don't know whether he's still alive. He was a president for 6 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours president. I think he must have been the shortest serving president in the world. And let us observe a moment of silence in respect of this nonsense. The guy served for 6 hours after overthrowing the government for 6 hours, and the government was taken over, fortunately. The guy and his team tried to overthrow the late president of Kenya, what was his name? President Moi, Toroitich Arap Moi, one long-serving president of Kenya. They tried to overthrow him, but they failed. Because somehow, although he was not so good, we were kids, so we didn't understand so much politics, but according to them, he was a dictator and they wanted to get rid of him. But they lost all in all. So these guys went to the Voice of Kenya, the only TV station in the country that time. And there was this guy called Leonard Mambo Botella. He was a very famous news anchor. They hijacked him and told him to announce on telly that Ezekiel Ochuka is now the new president of Kenya. He's taken over the country. Now the country was being led by the military. And that's exactly what he did. He was doing that in panic. We saw him on telly. And we knew we are done. As young as we were, we knew we are done. There is no more President Daniel Arap Moi, the guy who had introduced for us kids. He had introduced milk, free milk to the primary schools. That was the most interesting part for us. Free milk, everyday milk. And now he's been overthrown. Oh my goodness, no more milk? We used to sing to him all the time, you are the best president in the country, in the whole world, so that he gives us more milk or money. He used to give money, I can remember, every time he stops by, he gives government money to us. So, we continued with the gunshots. Neighbors were gathering around to discuss what's going on in harsh voices so that the kids don't hear and get frightened. Guys who come back from town saying all the morgues are full. When we hear all the morgues are full, we're like, oh my God, we are done. We are done. All the morgues are full. I don't know. There's some people being lined up on the road and trucks are passing over them. These are now President Moi's people. The trucks are passing over them. That was day one. Literally around 6 hours later, all our eyes were on the telly, but because Leonard Mambo Botella had just announced that they've taken over the government, Ezekiel Ochuka's government now, then he was removed and the stations went blank again. But 6 hours later, the stations were back again. And there was President Moi on the screen. We were so happy to see him. We jumped in joy though we were kids. And funny enough, he was crying. He was telling the country everything is okay. We are back in power. We were so happy, though we didn't understand what is all this. We were just happy that at least we're not going to die. We're not going to hear the gunshots anymore. But still, there were gunshots outside. I think his people were still working on Ezekiel or Chuka's people, the gunshots. Because I understand they came and overpowered the Ezekiel Ochuka's people in the TV station and put His Excellency, late President Daniel Arap Moi, on screen to tell the Kenyans that everything is okay. And that's what he did. And every Kenyan, I guess, that time was happy, not because the president is back, but because there's not going to be more gunshots. You know, Kenya was known to be a very peaceful country, very peaceful in the world. I remember we were given one of the top peaceful countries in the world as compared to now. So we were so happy. But people still not going to work the next day. But those who went to work were coming back with horror stories. Women being raped. I don't know what is the connection, why these people have to involve women in these things. Anyway, time the civil war, women are raped. They were inserting beer bottles in the women private parts. This is what we heard. And now the schools had to be, kids going to school had to be escorted by the military. We were being taken to school by military trucks, not by the usual Kenya bus service that time, but the military trucks, which was kind of exciting for us. And then the food prices went down, very down, because not because President Moy had brought them down, because they were getting spoiled in the shops, because for a few days food had not been sold because nobody was going out, so the prices shot down. If you're not eating sausages, that was the time to eat them because they were so cheap. We will eat them until we have diarrhea. And guys were going out during the war. Of course, the Indians had their businesses open. I think they not experienced the war, so they thought, man, business has to go on, and the shops were looted. The electronic hardwares and everything, shops were looted because business has to go on with or without war. They were looted, and then that was it. That was my little experience about the Civil War. So you just to let you know that you don't feel get used to it at any time. You don't. So if you like my content, like, share, and subscribe for more. Next, I'm going to tell you about my Al Qaeda bomb blast experience. I was still there. Al Qaeda bomb blast experience. Boom! I ran to the scene. So, ciao. See you in my next video.